What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, four-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, who is currently the undisputed super middleweight world champion, widely considered by many to be the face of the sport of boxing, Saul Canelo Alvarez, 59 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, 39 big wins by way of knockout. He is 32 going on 33 years of age, 5'8" with a 70-inch arm reach. Canelo Alvarez has been linked to many fights since his Cinco de Mayo, May 6th showdown with John Ryder in his hometown in Mexico. Canelo Alvarez has been linked to many fighters and fights because he typically, historically, fights on traditionally Mexican Independence Day weekend, the second week in September, Cinco de Mayo weekend in May, and he tries to squeeze another fight in before the year is up, normally about November, December. Canelo Alvarez being the face of the sport of boxing, everybody's intrigued and interested to see what's next for Canelo Alvarez before he even faces the guy that's in front of him. So with that said, the last time Canelo Alvarez faced a serious challenge where it was a massive mega fight, aside from his star power, it was the fight he took on undefeated WBA light heavyweight world champion Russian superstar boxer Dmitry Bivol. He lost all but 3 rounds in that fight. He was dominated by Dmitry Bivol. There was tons of reason as to why he lost the fight with Dmitry Bivol, but there was a shoulder injury, hand injury, and he dared to be great going up to 175. Although he already won the title at 175, beating Sergey Crusher Kovalev. With that said, Canelo Alvarez, has now been linked to fighting against undefeated 2-division world champion, former unified junior middleweight world champion, now the reigning WBC middleweight world champion, superstar boxer Jermall Lions Only Charlo. Jermall Charlo is 32 wins, no loss, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 33 years of age, 6 feet tall with a 74.5-inch arm reach. With that said, the problem and the issues that everybody has with this is that Jermall Charlo has been seeking out a fight with Canelo Alvarez for quite some time and was unable to secure a fight with Canelo Alvarez. Now Jermall Charlo is 2 years removed since the last time we saw him in the square circle. Jermall Charlo has been dealing with health issues, mental health issues, and just personal issues outside the ring in his personal life. And now he's going to be chosen over undefeated 2-time WBC super middleweight world champion, Mexican Ecuadorian superstar boxer, the Mexican monster, in David Benavidez. David Benavidez is 27 wins, no loss, no draw, 23 big wins by way of knockout. He is 26 years of age, 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. He is also the World Boxing Council, better known as the WBC, mandatory challenger for Canelo Alvarez, as the WBC has been petitioned by David Benavidez and his team, Samson Likowick, at the WBC convention to make sure they uphold this and make David Benavidez the mandatory, and they didn't do that, right? And so Canelo Alvarez initially had his sights set on, which nobody had a problem with, a rematch with Dmitry Bivol, at light heavyweight. He wants the fight to be at light heavyweight. Dmitry Bivol, he wants the fight to take place at 168 because he simply stated that there was too many excuses and he didn't get his credit and his just dues for beating Canelo Alvarez. And so he stated that if he fights and rematches Canelo Alvarez, it has to be where Canelo Alvarez, quote unquote, is most comfortable at 168. And he wants Canelo Alvarez undisputed titles on the line because he wants to be a 2-division world champion, and he's attempting to be a 2-division undisputed world champion. If he beats Canelo Alvarez, he'll be a 168-pound undisputed champion. Then he wants to go back up to light heavyweight and fight the man that's unified, that has the WBC, IBF, and WBO titles, and that's in Artur Beterbiev. Okay, so he wants to fight Artur Beterbiev, who is also a Russian athlete, Russian superstar that fights by way of Canada. So that makes 2 fights for Dimitri Bivol, and he can have undisputed under his belt, a feather in his cap, and cement his legacy. All he has to do is fight and beat Canelo Alvarez, and then fight and beat Artur Beterbiev, and he'll be undisputed in 2 separate weight classes. So that's what he's attempting to build his own legacy. But Canelo Alvarez, for his pride, he wants the fight to take place at 175. So Dimitri Bivol, he turned it down. And then he stated that Canelo Alvarez was unrealistic with the negotiations, and he had no interest. So with that said, they walked away. Then Canelo Alvarez, he set his sight on becoming a 5-division world champion to take on the WBC cruiserweight world champion in star boxer Badou Jack. But they want Badou Jack, who fights at cruiserweight, 200 pounds, to fight at 180, 20 pounds south of his weight class. And he turned it down. He said, I'm too old, and that's not realistic. I'm not going 20 pounds down to fight Canelo Alvarez. That's 5 pounds north of the light heavyweight limit, right? And so Badou Jack, he turned it down. And so now that left Canelo Alvarez with David Benavidez, which seemed to be the most likely opponent, right? Seems to be the most logical opponent. But no, he turned his sights to the 160-pound middleweight champion, who has never fought at 168 and has been out the ring for 2 years, in Jermall Charlo. And so with that came a lot of criticism towards Canelo Alvarez, to which Canelo Alvarez and his team, they actually blocked David Benavidez and his team from contacting them. This is how much Canelo Alvarez is avoiding David Benavidez. They blocked David Benavidez's team from contacting them altogether. And now Canelo Alvarez, he posts this post and says, simply, I'm in Italy, right? This is a message to the fans that have been complaining, and, you know, the fans that have been criticizing Canelo Alvarez's decision. As we know, he's set to make $30 million to fight Jermall Charlo, who hasn't fought in 2 years. So he's living his best life. He's going to pull Jermall Charlo up from 160 to 168. He hasn't been active. Jermall Charlo is a very good fighter, very talented. He's undefeated. He's a 2-division champion, but he just simply hasn't been active for 2 years. Okay, and he's been dealing with issues outside the sport of boxing for the last 2 years. That has been part of the reason why he has not been in the squared circle to begin with. So with that said, Canelo Alvarez lets the world know, simple and plain, I'm living my best life and I don't care what you say. This comes why? Because Canelo Alvarez has a hardcore fan base that supports him in whatever he does. They could care less if he's actually fighting the best fighters that's available or he's fighting your local barber. They don't care if Canelo Alvarez is fighting the corner store bodega man in New York. They don't care if Canelo Alvarez is fighting your local cab driver or your local bus driver. As long as they get to witness Canelo Alvarez in the ring displaying his talents, they could care less who it's against. And because of that, this allows Canelo Alvarez to do what he's doing and act the way he's acting, because he does, no doubt, have a good resume. He has fought some great fighters, but when you're going to be the face of the sport of boxing, as Canelo Alvarez put it, you got to do a lot, and he's not doing a lot at this moment. He's picking and choosing, being very strategic with his career. Now, he does have a ton of fights, 63, 64 fights in his career. That's a lot of wear and tear on your body, no doubt about it. But Canelo Alvarez, to be the face of the sport of boxing and make $30 million, Canelo Alvarez should be fighting the absolute best there is to offer. Not saying Jermall Charlo is not the best there is to offer, but Jermall Charlo active is one of the best fighters there is to offer. Jermall Charlo out the ring for 2 years and dealing with personal issues outside the ring and not having his head in the game, that's a completely different story and a completely different version of Jermall Charlo, who's never fought at 168. David Benavidez is at 168. He's the undefeated former champion. He didn't lose his belt in the ring. And not to mention, David Benavidez is considered the Mexican monster, fights at 168 and was considered the best fighter in the division. Canelo Alvarez picked up that title when David Benavidez lost the title on the scale. So it only makes sense to fight David Benavidez. It's an easy fight to be made, and you're going to make the same amount of money. And he's coming off the biggest win of his career. So that makes the fight even bigger. Not to mention, people feel like Canelo Alvarez is avoiding him. That makes it more intriguing in itself. But we know why. Canelo Alvarez sees something in David Benavidez he doesn't like, nor does his team. They don't feel confident, and that's why they're going in a different direction. That's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. So all I got for y'all, man. Canelo Alvarez, let the world know. I'm out.